Good morning, guys. Welcome to this morning's devotional. I thought we'll do something a little bit different this week. We're going to continue looking at the life of David. But a few guys have asked me the question, so John, how do I dig in scripture to find these things? So you do these devotionals every day. Like, how do you find that stuff in the text? And I thought I'd like to talk a little bit about that and kind of demystify it a little bit for us. The Bible isn't meant to be complicated for us. It isn't meant to be some spooky book that's got some special treasures hidden. I do think that the truths of Scripture are hidden to the casual observer, and so there needs to be some application and time spent reading the Bible. But if we do that, I think we can find some incredible nuggets of truth, and God can really lead us and guide us and help to and grow us through His Word. And so I'm going to give us a few principles over the next few days, and these are things that we can apply to the text. And when we apply them to the text, what they do is they help us to understand what's really going on. And so our first one we're going to look at today is a very simple thing. It's called, let the verse speak for itself. Because oftentimes we go into the Bible looking to back up a point or to try to justify a position. Instead, let's have a look at the text and see what the text says to us. So our text for this morning is 1 Samuel chapter 17, reading from verse 55. As Saul watched David going out to meet the Philistine, this is David going out to beat Goliath, he said to Abner, the commander of the army, Abner, whose son is that young man? Abner replied, as surely as I live, your majesty, I don't know. The king said, find out whose son this young man is. As soon as David returned from killing the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with David still holding the Philistine's head. Whose son are you, young man? Saul asked him. David said, I am the son of your servant, Jesse of Bethlehem. And there's a bunch of things actually in this text, but I just want to pull one out today. If we look at this, if we look a little bit at the context, so let the verse speak for itself. This isn't the first time Saul found or interacted with David. Remember in the chapter previously, Saul was sometimes tormented by an evil spirit, and David would come and play the guitar or the lyre for him, and the spirit would disappear or go away, and Saul would be comforted. So Saul's met David before, but now he doesn't recognize David at all when David goes down to fight the Philistines. So there's a little bit of historical context there. I read up a little bit. Obviously, the king's court is bigger, and David wasn't always playing on his own as a musician in the king's court. So it was possible for the king also to overlook him. But there is a principle in here. The thing is, Saul would recognize David as a musician, but when David was playing out of position in another role, Saul didn't recognize him. And so I think the principle or the thing that I read today into this is, am I prepared to see someone as different to how I have seen them before? Because I think sometimes we overlook people or we overlook circumstances in our life because we are so programmed as to how we've seen things before. So, for instance, in my marriage, Cindy plays a particular role in our marriage, and she's really good at it. She's my wife, and she's an amazing mother. She's really good at what she does. But I've also seen, yesterday she did a devotional for the church. I've seen another side to her start to blossom, where she loves to share from her heart, and she really carries something, and she does really well at that. Now, if I only ever see her as a wife and a mom, and in those roles only, one, I'm going to be surprised or try to suppress her when she steps out of that. But secondly, I'm also not going to be able to reap the benefit of hearing her share and her being able to encourage me and her being able to build me up. I think sometimes we look at our friends, we expect our friends to act a certain way, right? I want a musician friend because a musician friend plays for me, encourages me. It's great to have musician friends. You know, David was the musician. It's great to have those kind of people around. But what about when that musician friend is now a little bit of a soldier and they challenge me? Then do I want them around so much anymore? Like, whoa. I didn't sign up for this. I'm happy to have you as someone who encourages me, but when you challenge me, not so much. I don't recognize, I didn't give you that right. What about my children? I think sometimes with our parenting even, we are unable to transition. I'm seeing as my girls grow up that we need to transition as parents. We can't stay always being there, controlling our kids. There comes a stage where we are, in the beginning, we are really hands-on, kind of doing everything with our kids. And then we kind of move more into a coaching role with our kids, where we've got to let them play the game. And then later on, when they leave home, I think we've got to we've got to let go then and be like that. Then we are in a friendship role towards our children, and we're always looking to build bridges. But as our kids grow and mature, I'm finding the challenge of, am I prepared to allow them to shift? That they aren't just one particular role in my life, but I can recognize them as having perspective on things. Sometimes my girls come and challenge me about things in my life, and I've got a choice whether I'm going to sit there and go, hey, who do you think you are? I'm dad, I'm the leader of this family. Oh, I listen to them, and I'm like, I hadn't actually seen that in my life. And so when I look at this text, so to go back to our principles that we spoke about, let the verse speak for itself, what we see is that Saul didn't recognize David because David was in a different position or a different role. And so I take a step back and I ask myself the question, okay, are there areas in my life where I do the same? And then all this kind of stuff comes out. I'm really looking forward to going on this journey with us for the rest of the week. What I will be doing is posting the texts that we're going to be looking at over the week. I'll send them out on the WhatsApp group as well. And please, can I encourage you, why not have a look ahead of time at the text that we're going to be looking at and ask yourself the question for tomorrow morning. Let the verse speak for itself and see what you see in the verse. Just make some observations about what you see in the verse. And let's see what we come up with, and let's encourage one another. Thanks so much for joining me.